Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. Um, we are rolling through earnings season, definitely through the heart of the quarter now, but there's still some big names coming up. Definitely plenty of names left on the calendar, and as this week wears on, we'll um, probably start to see maybe some retail or like software names start to get more in play as we kind of get to that portion of the reporting period. Okay. So before the open on Monday, you have a couple names actually. Biontech is priced in about 15. After Pfizer and Moderna both reported, I don't know how much uncertainty is going to be left. So I don't think I'm going to do anything with it. Moderna did have a really big move this week after its report, though. So I guess you could keep an eye on Biontech after the numbers come out. Palantir pricing in about $1.50. Um, Last couple of quarters really have not been pretty, but I mean it's definitely a better environment, i.e., more forgiving, right? I mean, stock is working on reversal. Could be, I guess, a make or break setup. It's not my favorite stock to trade, but it seems like a okay setup for a volatility strategy, maybe. After the close on Monday, Novavax, another COVID vaccine name, pricing in 8.5. It could actually be more of a mover because it has more uncertainty versus like BioNTech or Moderna or Pfizer. Actually, it's kind of a decent setup too because it's been in like a tight recent range, but it still may end up being like more of like a post earnings idea depending on what the numbers look like. Um, UPST, so about 775 is what's expected here. They had weak guidance a month ago. That's when the stock dropped here. I'm scrolling. So that's when the stock dropped here. But I mean, you can see that it's starting to lift off the low because a lot of these heavily shorted, beaten up stocks are catching a bid. I mean, my baseline assumption is kind of like Snap in the sense that it's going to be weaker guidance. But I mean, historically, it has been a mover, and it could see a relatively large swing, especially now that it's bounced a bit too. So it might be a speculative strangle play for me. Also, Monday after close, a few smaller software names. Not sure I'm gonna do anything with them. You have like AVLR and APPS and PUBM, but I don't know. They're not really names I focus on much. For the open on Tuesday, really only like one name, Global Foundries. About 6 points is what's expected, but those are monthly options. It's a U.S. foundry play, recent IPO. It's not usually a huge move around earnings, or at least not up until this point. But maybe it's kind of an interesting technical setup. I have my rule of thumb for this quarter though has been to avoid semi reports, avoid playing options on them. I'm not seeing enough movement to reward options. Um, but this kind of an interesting pattern, and even though you got to pay a little bit extra for a little bit extra time because they're monthly options, maybe it leaves a little bit of room. But um, again, I mean, I just haven't seen too many chip stocks move enough to pay options, so I'm still a little bit more hesitant on this group. After the close on Tuesday, you got some interesting ones. Coinbase, about 20, 21 points is what's expected. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a pretty quarter, but who knows what to expect action-wise. I mean, lots of bad earnings have been shrugged off the past few weeks, and I really have no idea what to expect with Coin. I mean, I guess the farther it runs up into earnings, the more downside risk there is, but I mean, it's really just a true toss-up to me. Um, you got Plug reporting, BE reporting, um, actually, and Ballard Power BLDP reports that week. So Fuel Cell doesn't. So Fuel Cell could be maybe like an interesting sympathy play because you got its three closest peers reporting all during the week. Roblox pricing in about 7.5. Stock has been acting better, but the last couple of quarters have not been great. Even if it did rally after last quarter, Metaverse names have not had a great reporting period either. So it does seem like the more it rallies into earnings, the more downside risk there is. And the only issue I see too is that the option pricing appears expensive. So if I played this, I'd really want to get risk down on both ends. Trade desk, so about 675 is what's priced in. It's probably the top of its year-to-date downtrend, You can see right now. So kind of an interesting pattern, and it can often be volatile in reports. Though it actually did have a pretty muted reaction to earnings last quarter. Um, I'm on the fence with it, but I mean, with the way things are moving and like the patterns shaping up, it does to me seem like something that could maybe work for like a speculative strangle or volatility strategy. But we'll have to see where it is on Tuesday, because if it keeps rallying, then it might be removing some of the upside potential. Unity, I mean, it's another one just running straight into earnings. What's interesting about Unity, they're pricing in about 4.25, but they already guided and they just did a big M&A deal. So, that to me usually means leave it alone. So, even though it's running and it's an interesting pattern, it's probably going to be an avoid for that reason. But definitely something I'm going to be watching after the numbers come out. Wednesday before the open, you have two restaurant stocks: Wendy's, which is pricing in $1.50, and then Jack in the Box, which is pricing in about 5.5. Those are both monthly options. I don't think I'm going to be in either, but this group has had a decent reporting period so far. I think like any trades on the restaurant stocks would be more swing focused. If the action continues to be okay over the next couple of weeks, because some of these stocks have had big bounces. After the close on Wednesday, Disney is pricing in 6.5. Definitely the big report of the day. I thought last quarter seemed okay. The stock didn't respond that great though. It has been working on a nice recovery. A lot of travel related stocks have had decent quarters so far. Um, there are a lot of cross currents with Disney though, and I guess I just don't know if I want to deal with the earnings risk. Because a trade like this for Disney, for me, seems like there'd be more potential over a longer time frame, especially if this can really turn the corner higher. So I might wait until after the report to see where things stand and see if there's something taking shape there. Bumble pricing in about 575. Those are monthly options. I'm kind of curious to see what they have to say, because Match was really ugly, but Bumble didn't react much to that report. So it kind of seems like a setup for a volatility strategy. Um, so we'll see. It might be something I look at during the middle of the week. But I mean, I'd probably have to get risk down because you're paying for those monthly contracts. Bros. So about 7 points is what's priced in. Last quarter was bad, but the stock has recovered all of that and then some. It's an expensive name, and they'd better deliver, or there could be some downside here. I'm not sure I'm going to be in it, and options are priced high, so it's going to have to see a big move to work. Uh, Thursday before the open, I mean, just a few names that they just haven't confirmed. Baidu, Neo, Dillard's. I mean, the Chinese names haven't confirmed, so we'll have to wait and see. Dillard's, the thing with Dillard's is that they sometimes don't confirm their earnings date until the night before the release, so that's not totally uncommon. But if Dillard's does report, that could impact like a Macy's, Kohl's, or even like a Nordstrom. Those are the names that typically move with it. After the close on Thursday, Illumina, about 18 to 19 points is what's expected. It's kind of an interesting setup. They haven't guided early this quarter. Sometimes they do. Stock historically it's pretty volatile around earnings. Um, seems to have 20 plus room higher, right? 20 plus points higher. I mean, just back to where it was a couple weeks ago. Plenty of room lower. So the options seem like they may leave some room here. Plus, medtech names have been kind of volatile this quarter. Rivian, so about 425 is what's expected. Um, I'm not sure what to make for earnings, though. I do like the setup that's brewing here, because it looks solid technically, and it looks like it's turning the corner. Really working on a breakout, but earnings. I mean, after Lucid, I really don't know what to make of it. So I'm kind of like lukewarm on the pattern into earnings. I mean, depending on what they say and where it is after earnings, it could be something that continues to work and build. Um, it's just Lucid really made you question um, this setup. So it's definitely something I'm gonna be watching later in the week. Whether or not I have like short-term options on it, I guess we'll kind of depend on how the week goes up to that point. But definitely one that interests me later in the week. And then Friday before the open is really not much. So that's it. So some big names, some big price to moves, and I think it should be a busy week because you also have the CPI on Wednesday. So don't think we're going to be lacking for action. Okay. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, please follow up the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, and we'll talk to you all on Monday.